Remember Made in China? That little label was once a punchline, a shorthand for cheap disposable goods that filled store shelves around the world. It was everywhere, your toaster, your kids' toys, even that weird singing fish mounted on the wall. If it was quirky, plastic, or affordable, chances are it came from China. For decades, that label meant cheap, mass-produced goods from far away. Factories churned out mountains of products destined for homes across the globe, all stamped with the same three words. But now, China's ambitions have changed. The country is no longer content to be the world's assembly line. Today, Chinese companies aren't just making gadgets, they want to design them, own the patents, and set the global rules for how technology works. They're investing heavily in research, innovation, and creativity. It's a leap from simply assembling products to actually shaping the world's economy and influencing the direction of entire industries. This isn't just about business, it's about power, influence, and rewriting the rules of global competition. China is building roads, ports, and even launching its own international banks, connecting continents and creating new trade routes that put it at the center of global commerce. They're pushing their tech standards globally, aiming for dominance in everything from 5G networks to artificial intelligence and challenging the old guard of Western technology. This is a fundamental shift in how the world works, or at least how China wants it to work. The balance of power is changing, and the effects ripple out to every corner of the globe. How did a country once known for plastic Santas and knockoff electronics become a global powerhouse, setting trends instead of following them? It's a story of ambition, rapid growth, and a government with a long-term plan, one that's been decades in the making, fueled by vision and relentless drive. China's moving from the world's workshop to its architect, laying world-altering foundations and reshaping the future for everyone. Let's dive in because whether you realize it or not, this story affects everyone, everywhere, in ways big and small. For decades, the phrase "made in China" conjured up images of cheap, mass-produced goods, items that weren't always the best quality, but were almost always the most affordable option on the shelf. From toys to electronics, these labels became a symbol of low prices and accessibility for millions of shoppers around the world. But this global flood of inexpensive products was no accident. It was the result of a carefully crafted, deliberate strategy by China's leaders, who saw manufacturing as the key to transforming their country's future. Back in the late 1970s and 80s, China was a nation defined by poverty and rural life. Most people lived in small villages, working the land, with little access to modern industry or technology. Determined to change this, China's leaders opened the doors to the world, inviting foreign companies to set up factories and bring in new ideas. Millions of Chinese workers took jobs in these new factories, often for very low wages. It was tough work, but it marked the beginning of a massive economic transformation. As foreign investment poured in, sleepy villages rapidly evolved into bustling manufacturing hubs, and entire cities sprang up almost overnight, becoming economic powerhouses. Companies from all over the globe rushed to China, eager to cut costs and boost their profits by tapping into this new labor force and industrial capacity. For consumers in the West, this meant more choices and lower prices. But it also led to factory closures and job losses in their own countries as production shifted overseas. Yet, China's world factory model was about more than just making things cheaply. It was also about learning, absorbing skills, technology, and business know-how from around the world. Chinese companies started out simply assembling products for others, but over time they moved up the value chain, first manufacturing, then designing, and eventually innovating their own products. It was like a nationwide apprenticeship, with workers and engineers soaking up knowledge from foreign partners and gradually mastering every step of the process. The Made in China label was just the first step, a sign of a country on the rise, eager to learn and grow. Today, China is home to some of the world's most advanced factories and innovative companies, producing everything from smartphones to electric cars. In the end, they weren't just building products, they were building the foundation for China's global influence, reshaping the world economy in the process. China's manufacturing boom was staggering. Entire cities specialized in socks, buttons, or Christmas decorations. Specialization, a vast workforce, and massive infrastructure investment made China an economic powerhouse. This export engine lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty and created a booming middle class. The domestic market grew, with Chinese companies making products for their own consumers. But being the world's factory had downsides: low wages, pollution, and vulnerability to global demand. What if other countries stopped buying, or if a cheaper competitor emerged? China's leaders realized they needed to move up the value chain. Innovation, branding, and technology became the new goals. Relying more on domestic consumers was key. The Made in China model built economic strength, but it was just the foundation. The next phase: create, not just assemble. China was ready to become a global innovator. The transformation was just beginning. Flush with cash, China launched the Belt and Road Initiative. Think the Silk Road, but with concrete and debt. It's a network of railways, ports, and pipelines connecting China to Asia, Africa, and Europe. The goal: boost trade and tie other economies closer to China. China funds massive infrastructure projects worldwide, investing billions. Alongside BRI, China set up new banks like the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank to rival Western-led institutions. These moves give China more control over global development. Critics say BRI expands China's influence and can trap countries in debt. Some projects lack transparency and have environmental costs. Whether development or power play, BRI is reshaping global trade and relationships. China is literally paving its way to greater influence. The world's infrastructure is being rebuilt, with China at the center. It's not just about roads, it's about rewriting the rules. The stakes are global. Now let's talk tech, where China's ambitions get even bigger. In the last decade, China has transformed itself from a manufacturing powerhouse into a global technology leader, and its influence is only growing. Once seen as copycats, Chinese tech giants like Huawei, Alibaba, and Tencent are now global innovators. These companies are no longer just following trends, they're setting them, investing billions in research and development, and expanding their reach far beyond China's borders. They lead in 5G, AI, e-commerce, and digital payments. In fact, China's digital payment systems are so advanced that cash is almost obsolete in many cities, and their AI labs are producing breakthroughs that rival Silicon Valley. 5G isn't just faster internet, it's the backbone for smart cities, self-driving cars, and advanced robotics. Imagine a world where everything from traffic lights to delivery drones is connected and automated, all powered by Chinese technology. Huawei's dominance in 5G worried the US and others, fearing security risks and surveillance. The debate isn't just about technology, it's about who controls the infrastructure that will run the world's data. It's a battle for control over the digital future. The stakes are high, with countries racing to set the rules and standards that everyone else will have to follow. China is pouring resources into AI, aiming to lead the world by 2030. Billions are being invested in education, research, and startups, all with the goal of dominating this critical technology. With a huge population generating data, strong government support, and growing talent, China is advancing fast. Every day, millions of people use apps and services that feed data into powerful AI systems, accelerating progress even more. Chinese AI powers facial recognition, autonomous vehicles, and healthcare. From tracking public health to delivering packages, these technologies are already shaping daily life in China. And soon, maybe everywhere. Whoever leads in AI could dominate economically and militarily. Control over AI means influence over industries, security, and even the way wars are fought. Why does this matter globally? Because tech standards cross borders. The software and hardware built in China could become the foundation for digital systems worldwide. If China's rules for AI, privacy, and internet governance become global norms, everyone is affected. The way you use the internet, how your data is handled, and even what you can access online could change. It could mean more surveillance and tighter state control. Imagine a world where governments have unprecedented power to monitor and influence citizens, all enabled by technology. China is pushing its vision in international bodies, quietly shaping the digital world. Through diplomacy and partnerships, it's working to make its standards the global default. The stakes for your digital future are enormous. The choices made today will shape how you live, work, and connect tomorrow, no matter where you are in the world. China's economic and tech rise brings greater diplomatic clout. They want a bigger seat and louder voice in global affairs, and they're getting it. China is now the UN's second-largest contributor, gaining leverage in international organizations. They promote their interests, push back on criticism, and champion state-led development. Aligning with developing nations, China positions itself as a leader of the global South. Their influence is undeniable, even if their motives are debated. China wants a multipolar world, not one dominated by Washington. It's about creating a global order that supports China's rise and protects its interests. China is a climate paradox, the world's top polluter and top investor in renewables. Its industrial boom was fueled by coal, but now it leads in solar panels, wind turbines, and electric vehicles. China pledges to peak emissions before 2030 and reach carbon neutrality by 2060. The challenge: cut coal without hurting growth or stability. The opportunity: dominate green tech and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. China wants to be the green superpower for the planet and its own economy, but while investing in renewables, it's still building coal plants. This dual approach frustrates many. Is China serious about climate, or just hedging its bets? The answer will shape the planet's future. As China's influence grows, many countries are uneasy. The US sees China as its main rival, sparking trade wars and tech restrictions. India worries about border tensions and China's reach in South Asia. Europe is rethinking ties, balancing economic interests with security and human rights concerns. Developing nations welcome investment but fear debt and hidden strings. Initial enthusiasm for Chinese money is giving way to caution. Pushback is growing, making the global environment more contested. China's efforts to set the rules aren't going unchallenged. Alliances are shifting and countries are cooperating and competing with China at the same time. The idea of China writing all the rules is far from certain. The world stage is crowded and everyone wants a say. The game is on. So, where does this leave us? China has transformed from factory to superpower. It's reshaping trade, technology, and diplomacy. Moving from made in China to China sets the rules. But China faces big challenges: an aging population, environmental issues, and economic transition. International pushback is real. The world isn't a blank slate for China's ambitions. A single nation dictating all the rules is unlikely. The future will likely be messy, multipolar, and full of negotiation. China's rise means more complexity and volatility. New opportunities for some, new challenges for others. The old rules are being questioned and new ones are up for grabs. The world of made in China is over. What comes next is anyone's guess.